Hello and welcome back to Wellywood Wargaming. My name is Damon, and in this episode we're going to be taking a look at Necromunda, specifically Apocrypha Necromunda. Now, Apocrypha Necromunda, a bit of a mouthful that one, are a series of narrative sort of driven rules and scenarios for the game of Necromunda, released exclusively on the Warhammer Community. And these have been going for the last sort of year or two now, I believe, and I've been waiting to do this video for quite a while, but I was wanting to get it up to a nice round number of 10. Now we've got 10 scenarios. In fact, I think it was just last week that we got the 10th one. Now these aren't just scenarios, and in this video I'm not going to be sort of explaining the actual scenarios in too much detail. What I will be doing though is breaking down the extra rules that are available for you to use in your campaigns, in your games of Necromunda, because there's some really cool stuff in here. Some contain much more than others in terms of the content, and some gangs and factions are kind of left out a little bit. Some have got better deals than others. But I'll kind of just give you a brief overview of what exactly the 10 Apocrypha Necromunda scenarios that you've got here are. But first and foremost, please do like, share and subscribe, and consider my Patreon as well if you'd like to support me directly. It does take quite a lot of effort and work to do this. I have a full-time job and a family as well, so every little day off that I have, I spend compiling all these lists and doing quite a bit of work as well. So I do really appreciate the support. Anyway, without further ado, let's just give you a quick overview of the 10 Apocrypha Necromunda scenarios that we've got here. The first one is called Blood in the Spire, and the lowdown on this one is that Lady Helmore is facing off against a bunch of outcast gangs and outcast gang leaders. So this is definitely a multiplayer scenario. Looks really fun. I haven't actually played this one yet, but it contains new Up-Hive black market trading post items and war gear. We're going to get into the specifics of what those are shortly, but that's Blood in the Spire. It looks like a fun one to play anyway. The next one, and we're going to go through these alphabetically, is Bullet Road Run. Excuse me. And this is Orlocks against, Orlocks led by Vesper Medina, who is one of the daughters of Slate Medina, defending against up to 3 other gangs in an Ash Wastes multiplayer. This contains new rules for Delac crew members. So if you are a Delac player, then you'll need to pick up this one, and so you can start using those Delac crew members. The next one is Demons of Meridian. This is Gorshiv Hammerfist, who is a Dramatis Personae and Forge World Goliath model. With his Goliaths, they try and take out a new Dramatis Personae called Zarn the Cyberoth and his outcasts in this headhunt scenario. New rules in this one contain, the rules for the Dramatis Personae in question, Zarn the Cyberoth. No idea what a Cyberoth is, but there you go. Escape from Zalcatraz, terribly named. Obviously, Escape from Alcatraz. There is Lady Credo. So again, if you're not familiar with the Vaults of Temenos, the Aranthian Succession story so far, Lady Credo and Lady Helmore that I've already mentioned are 2 characters in that, I suppose, and both have models that you can use in your games of Necromunda and pretty good stats too, and yeah, really nice Forge World sculpts there too. But this one, Escape from Zalcatraz, is Lady Credo, a couple of Ansar and some Escher attempting to escape from the clutches of enforcers, and has new rules for automata, cyber mastiffs, and all that enforcer jazz, I suppose. The next one, and quite an interesting one, and one that I have actually used mechanics and rules from, is Halfway Dead. This is an Ash Waste nomad attacking the Ashwood Stranger and his band of outcasts. New rules in this one have rules for warrior spirits for the Ash Waste nomads. I do feel that the nomads haven't been given a lot of love in terms of their rules and stuff since they were released, so this is quite nice to have a little bit of extra stuff in there. The next one we have is the Lost Charter. This is Ironhead Squats attacking a band of outcasts with a Psychic Ogrin, and to steal some loot. New rules for this one contain the Psychic Ogrin, or Awakened Ogrin rules there. The next one is Queen of Ashtown. This is Goliaths against Escher, and a host of Wild Runners in this one. New rules for Escher Chems in that one. We then have Spiders of the Sump, which is the most recent one, actually. This one only came out last week. It is a Sump Sea battle. Yes, Sump Sea. So rules for Aqua waterborne vehicles down in the Sump Sea, which is really, really cool. So forget the ash waste for a moment. We're going to the Sump Sea. The next one is Sump City Sinking, which I have actually played this scenario, and it's really, really fun. It's corpse grinders attacking Delac, actually. It's got new rules for some corpse grinder stuff, and it's got some new rules for the Delac Spectre as well, who's very, very pissed off in this particular scenario. The last one of the 10 is Twins of Two Tunnels. This involves the Dramatis Personae twins, the Gorvos twins, which we have Forge World models for as well, and they're outcasts defending against a Goliath gang led by Axon Hammer, terribly named as well, but also quite a nice Forge World Goliath model there as well. New rules for outcast gangs and the twins, and outcast gangs led by the twins, but also you've got some new gene smithing options there for Goliaths as well. So that gives you an overview of what these are. Like I said, I don't really want to get into the specifics of the actual scenarios themselves. You can download all of these. I should have probably said this right at the beginning. You can download all of these scenarios from the Warhammer community. These things, as we know with Games Workshop and stuff, occasionally get deleted, and I think we had some Aeronautica Imperialis scenarios and whatnot that were on the Warhammer community that got deleted quite recently. So I would go on there right now and download all of these just so that you have them in your pocket, so that you can reference them and stuff. But if not, failing that, if they don't exist after this, then at least I've done a video on it and you know what's contained therein. So, starting off with probably the most fun one, and we're going to go alphabetically through these, Blood in the Spire. Now, this one contains rules for a Spire black market. What that means is we have not just the regular black market, not just the regular trading post, we have the very, very posh and very, very rare illegal equipment on this one. And there are, I believe, 9 new pieces of weapons and equipment in this one. We've got the Archeo dueling pistol, the barbed flabellum, chameleoline elixir, digi multi-lasers, draconic scales, hemiphagic blade, mirror aegis, psychofamil pheromone, and of course the very, very scary vortex grenade. So I'm just going to give you a quick look at the stats of these. I won't give you the prices and the legality. It depends on how you actually run your campaigns as well in terms of the legality and stuff. We're going to be running a classic campaign here, so it just means that illegality and legality and the rarity of stuff is kind of besides the point. But the prices for these things, as you can imagine, are very, very expensive because they are the most elite equipment that you can possibly buy. The Vortex grenade in particular is 500 credits for one grenade. However, when I tell you the stats for it, you'll be throwing up a little bit. Anyway, so starting off with the Archeo dueling pistol. This is a really nice one. We're going to get straight into the stats here. It's a pistol, obviously. The short range of 6 inches, a long range of 16 inches, which is actually quite long for a pistol. It's got +2 to hit at short range and no negatives or positives at long range. So +2 to hit's really lovely. It's strength 5, which is great. So you're wounding most Goliaths on a 3. And it's also AP -2, damage 2, ammo 4+ with pulverize, rending, and of course sidearm there as well. So rending, 6 is to hit auto wound or something, or is it extra damage? I believe it's extra damage actually, and pulverize as well, meaning you can turn flesh wounds into serious injuries and whatnot. Really, really nasty pistol. The +2 to hit at short range is fantastic, like a stub gun. High strength, high damage, -2 AP. What's not to like about that? It is 120 credits though, so it's very expensive for a pistol, but very, very fancy. A really good one to have if you're going to include these in your campaigns and whatnot. Then that might be available for you. So there you go. We've then got the barbed flabellum. Bit of a mouthful, that one, but I'm not really sure exactly what this would look like, but it's a close combat weapon which is versatile. Similar to the rotary flensing saw in that it has a 4-inch versatile range, which is just very, very scary indeed, adding 4-inch threat range onto your charges in Necromunda. It's +2 to hit in base to base and +1 to hit at 4-inch range, which is really, really good, so much better than the rotary flensing saw so far. It has no strength, but it does have AP -2. Melee, toxin, versatile, so I've already mentioned those two things, but it's toxin as well, hence having no strength. So think of a rotary flensing saw that's more accurate, with toxin. So if you give this thing to a Death Maiden and give, I don't know, it's just very scary. And the threat range of it is very scary indeed. That one comes in at 80 credits, I believe. So that's the Barbed Flabellum. Anyway, the next one is the Chameleon Elixir. A fighter equipped with a Chameleon Elixir may drink it at the start of any of their activations. For the remainder of the battle, all ranged hit rolls against the fighter suffer -2 to hit modifier, while close combat hit rolls suffer a -1 to hit modifier. Additionally, if the fighter is not carrying a weapon with the unwieldy trait and has a 5+ or worse armor save, not counting field armor, or if they did not move during their previous activation, they may only be targeted by a ranged attack if they are within 6 inches of the attacker. So almost like they're in pitch black there as well. Really, really, really strong. Reminds me of falsehoods and things like that, but just makes you incredibly hard to hit. Yeah, very, very, very good indeed, that one. Not much more to explain on that one at all, but the next one is Digi Multi-Lasers. This is probably my favorite one here. It's just awesome. A Digi Multi-Laser is a sort of short-range pistol here, so I think it is actually, that doesn't count as a sidearm, but it is a pistol. It's got a 4-inch versatile range, so similar to your sort of normal digi lasers, +2 to hit in base to base though. But it's strength 8, -4 AP, 3 damage, and it's single shot with melter. So basically a very, very close range melter shot. Really scary though, so if anyone, it's a really, really good deterrent to have on your gang leader or whatever. I'd really like to have that on a weird or a psyker, someone who's not that competent but, you know, is at high risk of getting charged and mulched up in close combat or something. A really nice one to have in your pocket, just to stop you getting smashed by some corpse grinders or whatnot. Anyway, so that's that one. The next thing we've got is Draconic Scales. A fighter equipped with Draconic Scales cannot have their armor save modified or negated by any rule or trait. Interesting. So I'm not sure how that interacts with things like web, because web doesn't give you a save, but it does say that it may not be modified or negated by any trait. So does that negate the web trait? I'm not really sure. I guess we'll have to contact Games Workshop for that one, but fantastically good one, that one. I think that's very expensive though. I don't have the price in front of me here, but yeah, really, really good, that one too. So if you've got, you know, I don't know, heavy carapace and an undersuit or something, and then you put Draconic Scales on the top, then your armor save is always going to be amazing. So there we are. The next one is the Hemiphagic Blade. This is a close combat weapon. Again, +1 to hit at long range though. +1 to hit in close combat, I suppose, because it's not got versatile. -2 AP, Hemiphagic, melee, and toxin. So it does have toxin, but we're going to have a quick look at what Hemiphagic does. But that is a new weapon trait there. The next one is Mirror Aegis. First time a fighter equipped with the Mirror Aegis is hit by an attack before wound rolls or armor saves are made, roll a d6. On a 1, resolve the attack as normal, and then roll again the next time the fighter is hit by an attack. On a 2+, the attack is negated, and the fighter may be placed anywhere within 6 inches of its current location, and the Mirror Aegis cannot be used again this battle. Really, really cool. A bit like a Displacer Field, but on a 2+, which is fantastic. But also, you get to choose where you go within 6 inches. So that's really, really good. I like that one a lot. That's the Mirror Aegis. We've then got the Psychofamil Pheromone. When a model attempts to target a fighter equipped with the Psychofamil Pheromones, with a ranged or close combat attack whilst they're within 3 inches of them, including attacks made as part of a charge double action, they must first make a willpower test. If the willpower test is passed, the attack is resolved with normal. If not, the attack the action is wasted. So really, really similar to having a corpse grinder mask, in fact, except this time it's a smell instead of a look. And the last one that I'm going to talk about, I'll save the best till last, the 500 credit Vortex Grenade. I think these used to be in 40k. Are they still in 40k? I'm not actually sure, but I'm sure I remember seeing them back in the day. The Vortex Grenade. So strength ×3. This is a grenade. It's limited. It's a single shot. It has the Vortex trait, and it's blast 3 inches. So that's that for now, but I'll tell you what the Vortex trait does in a second. But first, Hemiphagic. This is the new weapon trait that we've got here. When resolving a toxin attack with this weapon, apply a +1 modifier if this weapon has previously hit the target. So pretty cool. It's like it's looking for their blood. And those hits kind of stack and add +1 modifier as well. Quite nice, but not world breaking. Now Vortex though, this is really scary. A fighter who's hit by a weapon with the Vortex trait must make an initiative test. If successful, move them the shortest distance to avoid the blast marker. They're safe if they pass their initiative test. So this is very good against low initiative fighters generally, or vehicles. Otherwise, they immediately go out of action. They just immediately go out of action. No saves, nothing, no wound rolls, just if they fail their initiative check, they go out of action. Any obstacles touched by a Vortex blast marker are also removed from the battlefield, so anything at all. And if a vehicle is hit by a weapon with the Vortex trait, they're immediately wrecked and removed from the battlefield. So you could chuck this, I mean, this is why it's 500 credit, you could chuck this at a heavy custom vehicle with all the trimmings and just wipe it out in one shot. However, it is, it's 500 credits, but, needs must. You can do that. You've then got, it then sticks around though, which is even more scary. So after working out the effects of an attack with a weapon with the Vortex trait, leave the blast marker on the battlefield at the start of each end phase, roll on the Vortex stability table for each Vortex blast marker. D6 result here, on a 1 and 2, the Vortex vanishes with no further effect, remove the blast marker. A 3 to 4, the Vortex remains unchanged. Any models coming into contact with the Vortex blast marker, the subsequent round count as being hit by it, so you just go out of action if you walk into it. And on a 5 to 6, it moves D6 plus 2 in a random direction, as determined by the scatter dice. Any models or terrain in its path under the blast marker, when it stops, count as being hit by it as well, and just get removed, absolutely auto-deleted. So, yeah. Very, 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 very scary indeed. And that was that one. So moving on to the next one here. This is Blood in the Spire. Oh, sorry, no, this is still Blood in the Spire, actually. There's just a little bit of extra stuff at the end of it attached to the scenario, but you might want to use this in multiplayers. It's quite cool, actually. You get to roll an old enmities little test here. So if you're playing this scenario, playing a big multiplayer, you can roll a d6 for each gang leader in the game. On a 1, pure loathing, they randomly select an enemy fighter. Your leader may re-roll close combat attacks against that fighter. Gnawing fear, haughty disdain, healthy paranoia, homicidal urges, and overdue payback. I'm not going to go into those too much, but just an added little bit of enmity there that you can add to your multiplayer scenarios. Quite cool. You could probably add that into gang moot, I think it is as well, or any other scenario that kind of has lots of gangs facing off against each other. Anyway, so moving on to the next scenario, and this is Bullet Road. This one is the one with Delac vehicle stuff, Delac vehicle equipment, and Delac crew here as well. So we've got some Delac vehicle additional equipment here. So the special weapons that you can take on your Delac vehicles from now on, you've got grav guns, melter guns, plasma guns, and web guns. 120, 135, 100, and 115 credits there, respectively. Heavy weapons, you can take a heavy flamer for 195 credits, and weapon accessories, we've got infrasights and monocytes on your vehicle equipment there as well. The Delac Wraith is the new Delac crew member. He's 35 credits, and his stats are ballistic skill 4+, leadership 7, cool 6+, willpower 7+, and intelligence 7+. So definitely better driving stats than your scum racers, and I believe even better than the guild ones as well, by the looks of it, with that cool of 6+ is fantastic. And they get, of course, driving as a primary, but also shooting as well, leadership and savant as secondary skills there too. Very good indeed, and they can have pretty much the same types of vehicles there as well. Your custom vehicle, your Ridge Runner, your Rock Grinder, your Wolf Quad. It's important to note here that you don't get any, special new Delac vehicles here. I imagine you'll get that in the next, or the one after that, new Necromunda rulebook, or what's it called, Vaults of Temenos or something. Aranthian Succession book, I suppose you'll get your next Delac crew in there. Not much more to talk about there though, but really nice to have a dedicated crew member for your Delac gangs there. The next thing is Demons of Meridian. This contains the rules for a new outcast gang leader and also dramatis personae that you can use. He is 220 credits, Sarn the Cyberoth. And he's a warp corrupted abomination sort of ambot. He's basically kind of like Ghost in the Shell. He's just a sort of corrupted AI that's taken over this ambot, I believe. But he's very, very scary indeed. He's got good stats. Movement 4, so he's quite slow. He's a typical sort of ambot in a lot of ways. Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 5, strength and toughness 5, wounds 3, initiative 4, attacks 2, and then his mental stats are 7, 5, 6, 7. Again, 220 credits. He's got Warp Flamer claws, which have a ranged and melee range here, threat here as well. So the melee is strength as user, so 5, minus 1 AP, 2 damage, and paired. So lots and lots of attacks there. He hasn't got too many attacks base, only 2 attacks base, so that's worth having. And then we also got the ranged one there as well, which is strength 4 template with cursed and blaze. So pretty nasty there. It sounds like the warp fire thrower or whatever it's called. And he's got Ball Charge, Crushing Blow, and Unstoppable with light carapace armor. The other sort of special rules that we've got for Zarn the Cyberoth here are that he can only be hired by outcasts, Chaos Helots, and Chaos Corrupted gangs. By tapping directly into a power source, Zarn is capable of repairing almost any level of damage that he's taken. He may attempt to repair himself as a post-battle action. In order to do so, roll a d6 on a 3+. All lasting injuries are removed from this fighter. That's really, really good to have that on a leader. And we've also got, he can be selected as an outcast leader when making the outcast gang, replacing the normal option. That's that. And he can also be hired as a dramatis personae bounty hunter as well, following the normal rules for hired guns and whatnot too. So that's Zarn the Cyberoth. Now we're into Escape from Zalctraz or Zalctra or whatever it's called. This one has some unusual sort of programming automata rules here for your big automata and also your cyber mastiffs in this scenario too. And it gives them a, well, I'll go through it now. At the start of a scenario, an enforcer player may choose to enact enforcement programs on any or all sanctioners or cyber mastiffs in their crew. The player then selects a program for each sanctioner or cyber mastiff in their crew and notes it down. When activated, these fighters will now act according to their chosen programming, only able to select a limited range of actions. As detailed on the enforcement programs table below, the exception to this is that they may always take the reboot action. Reboot is a double action. The fighter's activation ends the next time they activate. Before performing any actions, they may choose a new enforcement program. So you have to do a double to change the enforcement program, otherwise you're stuck to that enforcement program. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, and you can choose these freely. First one is Hunt. At the start of each end phase, move this fighter d6 closer to the nearest enemy fighter. Cyber Mastiffs with this program have to end their activation within 6 inches of their owner rather than normal 3. We've got Intimidate. At the end of this fighter's activation, all enemy fighters within 2 inches of them must make a nerve test. Pretty cool. Guard. When making attacks outside of their activation, i.e. reaction or got your 6 attacks, add +1 modifier to both this fighter's hit and wound rolls. We've got Capture. If this fighter takes an enemy fighter out of action with a fight basic action, roll a d6 on a 4+, that fighter is captured. Oof. Yeah, pretty good. Obviously, we've got the new rules for, the post-game lasting injuries table, which includes capturing and stuff now. So I'm not sure quite in my head how that's going to work, but pretty good. Seems like it's separate to that. So we've got, just a 4+, you're captured. We've got Kill. The fighter counts both the shoot basic and fight basic actions as simple actions. Really nice indeed. And then Rescue. If this fighter is within 3 inches of a friendly prone and seriously injured fighter in the recovery phase, that fighter is considered to have automatically rolled a flesh wound. When rolling to recover, there is no need to roll the injury dice. So, moving on to Halfway Dead now. I have actually used these. These are really cool, but we've got some sort of new rules for Ash Waste's Nomads here. I did play them last campaign. as a sort of NPC gang, and I did use these a little bit in the last scenario, but these are called warrior spirits. So at the start of an Ash Waste Nomad's Chieftains or Watchers activation, before they perform any actions, they may choose to benefit from a warrior spirit. Note that multiple warrior spirits cannot be invoked in the same activation. Choose one of the spirits generated for the battle and immediately apply its effects to the active fighter. Each warrior spirit can only be used once per battle. So, the first one is Storm Spirit. The fighter becomes one with the storm, appearing and vanishing with each rolling cloud front. If the visibility X rule is in effect, the fighter may be moved anywhere on the battlefield, at least X away from any enemy fighters, where X is equal to the distance of the visibility rule. Their activation then ends. Really, really cool. I used that one just a little bit to just jump around and really mess around with the opponent there. That was probably my favourite one, to be honest. The second one is the Chem Spirit. Tar-like toxins ooze out of the ground all around the fighter, causing the surface to become sticky and foul as gritty ash eating through armour and flesh. Place a 5-inch blast marker centred under the fighter. Until this round's end phase, all enemy fighters treat the blast marker as dangerous terrain. That one's interesting as well, but probably the weakest one here, if I'm honest. Excuse me. Ashen winds roil around this fighter, choking and blinding their foes and making it all but impossible for them to land a decisive blow upon their adversary. All enemy fighters within 3 inches of this fighter must pass an initiative test or become subject to the blind condition, and that is the Ash Spirit. Fantastic, that one. I really like that one. Then we have the Electro Spirit. Coruscating electricity surrounds the fighter as if static from the storm were drawn to them, which they direct into their weapon attacks. For the duration of the fighter's activation, all attacks made by the fighter gain a shock trait, so that's pretty cool. If they're using a weapon that already has shock, then its effects will trigger on any successful hit roll, not just sixes. So shock, if you're not aware, is auto wounding on hits of 6 or more. So that one's really, really good there. We've then got the Fire Spirit. So the fighter harnesses the tormented fire spirit of Necromunda, channeling its rage into frenzied attacks. Choose a friendly fighter within 12 inches. This may be the active fighter as well for the duration of that fighter's next activation, or the current activation. If the fighter chose themselves, add 2 to their attacks characteristics and 1 to any weapon skill rolls they make. So really, really good, that one. And the last one is Blade Spirit. So the fighter's blades become keener for the duration of the activation. Any attacks made by the fighter using a weapon with the melee or versatile trait change their AP to -3 unless their AP would be higher, and increase their damage by 1. So AP -3, extra damage, amazing on stuff like mono hooks or chain glaives and whatnot as well. But as I said, Ash Waste Nomads, they feel a bit like they've been left behind at this point, and so do Squats to a certain degree, but Ash Waste Nomads even more so, as well as a few other gangs there as well. Obviously, Enforcers have been sort of given a few buffs recently, but this is really great for Nomads. I think this should be unanimously agreed upon that every Nomad gang just gets these by default. So moving on to the Lost Charter now. This one has rules for Awakened Ogryns. Now, Awakened Ogryns are, I believe, an outlaw. Yeah, they are. They're an outlaw hanger-on. They're 220 credits. They've got the exact same stats as a normal Ogryn hanger-on that you can have as a brute. But these guys have got a psychic bunch of abilities. So you can give them additional weird powers for plus 30 credits. But an Awakened Ogryn may purchase additional weird powers. Additional powers can be purchased in this way. When the fighter is added to the gang during campaign play, the fighter may spend XP to learn new weird powers as well. So a Psychic Ogryn. Now, the problem with that is that their willpower is kind of shit. It's an 8+, which is fairly terrible, similar to a Psygeist, I suppose. But you can get willpower increases on these guys, at times. But the weird powers that you get are kind of strange. You don't just get to choose from, any of the actual bespoke sort of weird power lists. Instead, you get a choice of these 6. You get Iron Arm, Body of Flames, Weapon Jinx, which is unusual, Overcharge, Crush, and Terrify. Now, Terrify is really good. That's a double. But an enemy fighter within 18 inches, you can basically make them break. It's pretty cool. They have got to take a nerve test with -3 modifier. I quite like that one. It's quite cool, and it takes the edge off as well, because your opponent can rally and gain XP from it as well. So it's not really bad. Crush is really good as well, just to sort of cause a bit of damage to people and scenery as well. Weapon Jinx I particularly like because it's simple. It's 18 inches, and you get to force the opponent to make an ammo check. So you can do that twice because it's a simple. But like I said, you know, with a willpower of 8 plus, the Ogryn, but that's not why you're going to take it. You're taking the Psychic Ogryn just because it's funny. So why not? That's that. I mean, it's just an Ogryn with weird powers. It is what it is. Right. The next one is Queen of Ashtown. This has rules for a couple of new Escher chems. First one is House of Gilded Grace. House of Gilded Grace is a Escher house, and they have their own chems here. Blood Boil, which is toxic ammo. It's 30 credits, and whenever a weapon with the toxin trait with this toxic ammo applied hits an enemy fighter, add 1 to the dice roll to see if it overcomes the fighter's toughness. So it basically just is super toxin. In addition, though, the weapon has the exploding and maddening toxic effects applied to it as well. For 30 credits, that's really good. The next one is a toxic ammo with Skin Fire as its name. It's 25 credits, and if a fighter is injured by a weapon with the toxin trait with this toxic ammo applied and is not taken out of action, roll a d6. On a 4+, the fighter becomes subject to the blaze condition. So in addition to this, though, the weapon has the debilitating and decaying toxin effects as well. So a lot to think about here. I'd have to crack open the Escher book to actually see what those ones do, because off the top of my head, it's hard for me to remember. The last one, though, and this is a stim, is called Predator's Kiss. This is 45 credits. A fighter under the effect of this stim adds 1 to their strength characteristic for the purpose of close combat attacks, though all of their weapons gain the Reckless trait. In addition, they have the Blood Rush and Hyper Stim effects applied to them. So, 45 credits. It's pretty good. But yeah, just some new options for you there. They seem quite powerful, those 3. Let me know what you think about those ones, because I don't really play Escher, so I'm not really that clued up on the chem stuff. But that's Queen of Ashtown. The next one, and the most recent one, is Spiders of the Sump. This has rules for the nautical stuff. So we've got 2 new vehicles here. We've got Scrap Skiff. The Scrap Skiff is 45 credits. And I believe this scenario is Escher on a massive Sump barge against a bunch of Chaos Helots on Scrap Skiffs. So the Scrap Skiff here is movement 8, toughness front 3, side 3, rear 3, HP 1, handling 6+, 5 up save. It has weapon hardpoints, so 1 weapon hardpoint as standard, and it is a waterborne vehicle, so we'll go through that in a second. But yeah, you can give it ablative armor, weapons stashes, redundant drive systems, easy turnover, similar stuff to what you can have on your normal sort of vehicles. The only main difference here is that it's waterborne instead of ground-borne or tracked or whatever you're going to call it. That's the Scrap Skiff. You've then got the Sludge Barge, which I believe the Escher use in this scenario. This one is quite a bit tougher with 7, 6, 6 on its toughness, front, side and rear. It's slower though with movement 6, but it's got HP 5, handling 8+, 4+ save as well. Has 2 weapon hardpoints as standard, and is also waterborne. And you can give it some upgrades as well, all of the usual stuff on your sort of heavier vehicles, but it's 165 credits this one, so it's quite expensive. And yeah, here are the rules for the Sump C vehicles. So I know that I've heard lots of people talking about playing with their own sort of made-up rules around the Sump C and stuff, but here they are officially. So Games Workshop has done this for you, which is pretty cool. Sump C vehicles, there are almost as many vehicles that apply the Sump Seas and run off rivers of Necromunda as there are on its dusty plains and wind-blown ridgeways. The following vehicle construction rules can be used alongside the Wasteland Workshop rules found in Necromunda. Book of the Outlands, allowing players to create vehicles capable of traversing the Black Seas of Necromunda. Really cool, taking it into a different sort of, just a different area of Necromunda. I'd find this more interesting than the actual land vehicles, I must say. But locomotion, waterborne vehicles can only be used in Sumpsea environments. These vehicles also build up momentum as they move and can be difficult to turn or slow down quickly. So when a waterborne vehicle is activated, but before it takes any actions, it must roll for its drift movement. Scrap skiffs drift D3 inches directly forward in the direction they are facing, while sludge barges drift D6 directly forward in the direction they are facing. Drift movement does not use any of the vehicle's actions, though it may still cause collisions, etc. So you've really got to think about your movement with these things, because they will carry on going after you've actually activated them as well. You've then got some Sumpsea environment information here, so only waterborne or skimmer vehicles can traverse the sump. Tracked, walked or wheeled vehicles cannot be used or fielded in Sumpsea environments, obviously. Fighters subject to the mounted condition are considered to be riding on small craft, grav cutters, sump creatures, etc. that can operate in a Sumpsea's environment. It's common sense, all this stuff, really. And then you've got drowning as well, which is really cool. So if a fighter begins their activation on the Sump Sea, they must check to see if they start to drown, make a strength check for the fighter. If they pass, they may move D6 in any direction, which may get them back onto a vehicle or a terrain piece. And if they fail, then they remain in place and suffer a flesh wound. So that's kind of cool. They just gain flesh wounds until they drown. In both cases, their activation immediately ends. Pretty cool though. I'm really keen to play some of that. I have actually used similar rules for that in a custom scenario that we made called a hurl-off, to want of a better word, where we just had to race to the top of a spire, and the Sumpsea was rising each turn higher and higher, and if you got thrown into the Sumpsea, then exactly that, you had to do a strength test to try and swim. But that was that. The next one is Sump City Sinking. This is the one that I have actually played. This is the Lack v Corpse Grinders. I did do a battle report for that one, so you can go and have a look if you like. But what we've got here are some new rules for the Corpse Grinders, and a little bit of new stuff, some new psychic powers, in fact, for your Delax Spectres here. So the Delax Spectre in this, during the choose crew step of the pre-battle sequence, any spikers may choose to use the following weird powers instead of the ones presented in the House of Shadows. So you're going to do that because these are better. So you've got Crush, which is really, really good. We won't go into Crush because it's not a new one, but we've got two new ones here. Witchfire, which is a double. All enemy models within 3 inches of this fighter suffer a strength 5, damage 2, AP -1 hit, as if from a weapon with the blaze thing. So again, like a defensive procedure there. Witchfire, really cool. And then we've got Mind Maze, which is actually really interesting. It's a basic and it's continuous, but target a single standing and active enemy fighter that is both within 6 inches in line of sight of this fighter. The target must make an initiative test. If this test is failed, they change their status to prone and pinned. Additionally, while the power is maintained, each time the target activates, they must make another intelligent test. If the test is failed, then any ranged or melee attack they perform during their activation suffers a -1 penalty to hit. One additional enemy fighter may be chosen as the target of this power for each friendly Delac fighter within 3 inches of the weird that is standing inactive. So that's pretty cool. The Mind Maze one, I really like that as well. So that's the Delac stuff that you've got in there. And you've got a tiny weeny thing for Corpse Grinders here. When a Corpse Grinder cult fighter with the gang hierarchy special rule, so a champion or a leader, is activated, their controlling player may attempt to invoke the Dark Gods before performing any actions. You may invoke the Dark Gods. This fighter makes a willpower test. They haven't got the best willpower, I'll give you that, but you get a +3 modifier to this as well if they took an enemy fighter out of action in their previous activation. If the test is failed, roll an injury dice and apply the result immediately to this fighter. If the test is passed, though, the fighter gains the following benefits for the duration of this activation. They get +1 strength, toughness, and attacks, and roll a d6 at the end of their activation. On a result of a 4+, they can remove a single flesh wound or recover a single lost wound. So really, really good. Quite harsh if you fail it, but really good if you pass it. Yeah, that's that one. The next one is the Two Twins. I think we're on the last one now. We are on the last one, yeah. So this is the Tale of Two Twins. This is all about the Forge World couple, the Gorvos twins, Gunda and whatever her face is. Gayan the Gunk Queen and what's the other guy? Vunda Gorvos. So this gives you a few rules for using them as an outcast sort of delegation-led party, I suppose. Instead of just using, you know, one of them, you get to use both of them, which is pretty cool. So again, the Gunk Queen Gorvos is the gang leader. So she's the leader. She has the criminal organization, affiliation, and mastermind archetype. While Vander Gorvos is one of the gang's champions. He has the survivor archetype. And all members of the gang may take gunk bombs for 20 credits each. So you get gunk bombs as a you know, a regular item on your house equipment list if you take these guys as the outcast leaders. You've then got a few words here as well. So a few words, war of words. We've got some special stuff that you can do in this scenario as well, using the propagandists and agitators. I haven't really had a proper look at this scenario, but it looks quite interesting. One side has a propagandist and one side has an agitator. This was basically just to use up all of the Forge World releases that came out at the time. The next thing, though, that we've got is, and the last thing for you Goliath fans, is a couple or three new gene smithing options here. We've got thermal resistance for plus 10 credits. This fighter has been designed to work the heat of the forges for cycles, or to work with the heat of the forges for cycles, at a time without breaks, and as such their body has been adapted to withstand great heat without damage. Reduce the strength of any attacks made with the blaze by 1 to a minimum of 1. So blaze still affects you, but the strength of it is reduced. So if you get hit by a flamer, it's then strength 3, but you're still going to get set on fire. It's not game breaking, that one. I can't see myself taking it too often, to be honest, but it's nice in combination with other things, that's for sure. The next one is enhanced stamina, and this is 20 credits. Some Goliaths come from long lines of cargo handlers, and a genetic legacy of hefting large, heavy, and cumbersome loads around has left this fighter with the ability to carry far more than even their fellow Goliaths can manage. This fighter may treat weapons marked with a star as only taking up one of their weapon slots. So for 20 credits, you get to basically take an unwieldy or big heavy weapon, and it only takes up one slot instead of 2. So pretty cool, similar to bulging biceps there as well. The next one, though, is unique organ transplant. This one is minus 10 credits, so it's a negative one here, but a good way of min-maxing those Goliath gangs of yours. This is for unborn Goliaths only as well. When this fighter was under the knife being transformed into a Goliath, something went wrong, and they only survived due to the doc using specially gene-coded organs that are expensive to maintain and replace. When this fighter suffers a critical injury, increase the credit cost of the medical escort action for them by d6 times 10 credits. So again, though, if this is a fighter that you don't really care about, you're not gonna worry about that. So it's pretty good taking 10 credits off them and spending it elsewhere in your gang. So that was an awful lot of information that I've given you. I'm sorry if that's a huge amount to take in there, but as you can see, some really cool stuff there. My favourite stuff there, of course, the Ash Wastes Warrior Spirit stuff, and of course the Uphive Black Market there as well, with some really cool new items too. But I imagine Games Workshop are going to continue doing these, or Warhammer Community are going to continue doing these Apocrypha Necromunda. Now we've got to 10. I hope so anyway. But yeah, it's always nice to have extra rules, official rules as well, that you can actually use, depending on your arbitrator and stuff. But I think none of these are broken and game-changing, so why not use them? Anyway, that's it for now. Like I said, I've been trying to get this video out for quite a while, so apologies. I'm a little bit slow on the videos at the moment, but I have just moved here. So anyway, I'm organising the new campaign for Sydney here at the moment, so I think I'm going to be playing Tzeentch Tainted Orlok Gang, which will be pretty cool, using the Blooded Kill Team models. I'm really excited about painting those, so I'll update you on that one. But in the meantime, stay warm, I suppose, wherever you are. And yeah, that's it from me. Peace out.